What's going on, y'all? It's Jeb here, and today I wanted to make a little bit of a different video. This one's for all of my entrepreneurs, people thinking about starting businesses, people wanting to get into the work that I do on a day-to-day basis, which is owning and operating a digital agency based here in Raleigh, North Carolina. Not that I think I'm a subject area expert by any means in terms of, how to build a business and all the things, but I think I have learned a little bit over the last 4 years of building Burt Media. Number one is getting to do the actual work. I talk to a lot of people, I listen to a lot of people talk about wanting to build a business. And every single time I talk to them, they're working on three things: their brand, their website, and their logo. Look, those things are fun, and it's very much the initial creative lift of starting something, but it doesn't get you any closer to actually doing what you probably want to do, which is start making money. So let's be real about it. If you are stuck on that phase, I want you to do two things right now. Pause the video, go into Canva, write your name on a white and black background, export those two things as a PNG, and then I want you to go onto Squarespace, use a templated site. You need one page that talks about what you do, get the domain so you can have an email, and then you're done. Use that to just have a presence that looks clean and professional, and stop worrying about it. Because the things that are actually going to build your business are not your logo, are not your brand, and are not your website. Specifically in regard to agencies, I believe this profoundly. Service-based businesses, I believe this profoundly. Now, if we're talking about products and other things, I could see how this is going to be much more important. If you're trying to build a business that does something for people, do that thing. Don't do this other thing to just try to figure out how you're going to represent it. Number two is all about productizing your service. You'll hear people time and time again talk about niching down, find your ideal customer, do these things. I've seen agencies built in super niche spaces. I've also seen a lot of agencies not built in super niche spaces, but what all these agencies had was a productized service. They had a package that people knew what they were signing up for, knew what they were going to get, and they could rinse and repeat that time and time again. Clarity in what your offer is so that when someone asks you, what do, you can have 2 to 3 things where you're like, this is what people do. These are my retainer packages. These are my one-off packages. This is how people work with us. There's 2 or 3 levels. You're trying to point people towards that middle level. That's what we do. That's how we operate. For us here at Burt Media, there's 2 ways people work with us: retainer relationships or one-off content projects. One-off content projects, you can pay us hourly to show up and create content, and you can pay us hourly to edit that content in post-production. Then retainer relationships are all built around us being your social media partner. From ideation to on-site creation to distribution, that's our retainer engagements. If you want to do either one of those, then we're a great option. If you don't, then keep on walking. We don't do websites. We don't do branding. We're focused on social media content production, organic distribution, paid distribution, and then one-off content projects. In the past, we did everything, and sometimes you have to do that just to get the ball rolling, but I would have productized our services a lot earlier because it makes everything else easier. It makes onboarding more straightforward. It makes your internal project management more straightforward. It makes your hiring simpler. Having a set thing that you do helps you know what you need to support that and gives you clarity across the board. The next one is prioritizing over delivery. Now, in agency world, this comes down to extra photos, extra videos, maybe an extra consultation, sharing advice, being a true partner and caring about the results and not being afraid to go beyond the scope of work to do a little extra. That means the world to clients and shows that you're truly there to see them succeed. This is relevant across all kinds of businesses. I don't care what you're doing, there's ways that you can show up a little extra for your clients that's going to mean the world to them and lead to better reviews and more referrals if they know that you're looking out for their best interest. Number 4, it's one that we've recently started doing, but I think I could have done this years ago. It's developing strategic partnerships. Now, if you're trying to build a digital agency or you've got a content team or you're a content creator, thinking about ways that you can team up with larger agencies is a great way to do this. So look around in your community and find those companies that are more branding and storytelling and kind of big picture companies who may not necessarily be focused on content creation or social media management and are looking for partners where they can outsource that work to or subcontract it. Those are great ways to establish relationships, build your portfolio, as well as just frankly get good work that in often cases might have higher budgets than what you're used to. Those things do not need to be approached as a, hey, what work do you have for me? They need to be approached as, hey, I'm in your community. This is what I do. I'd love to talk to your team and learn about how you guys are operating, how you've built your business. Use it as a information gathering or a networking thing, and you never know where it's going to lead. Look, people don't want to be sold to. They're not trying to be another lead. They're not trying to be another, email contact that you're going to hit up every 3 weeks. They want to be people. People are people, and they love to do business with people. So approach people as, and you know what I'm going to say here, as if they're people. The next one is dial in your project management. Pick a tool and stick with it. There are so many options today in terms of platforms you can use. You've got Asana, Monday, Trello. I mean, the list goes on and on. The point here is that you need to pick one, set up your systems, and then stick with it. Don't get caught up in the shuffle game of, hey, we tried this one, but we're going to do this one. We're in between right now, so we do some over here, we do others over there. You're going to start dropping the ball, and it's going to be super confusing for you and your team. It's going to be frustrating. You're going to get burnt out. Pick one and stick with it. The other thing I'll say on project management is don't overcomplicate it. You don't have to have all the dependencies, and if this happens, then that happens. You need to have meetings around your project management to make sure you're following through on projects to align the team. Do that twice a week and keep the ball rolling. This does not have to be an intricate every little thing, but you do need to make sure that your project management tool holds all the information that is necessary for a project to get complete. Folders for raw assets, folders for delivery, information into the edit, examples, brand assets. Make sure those things are there and ready to be used by whoever is completing the project, and it's going to go so much smoother. Your future self is going to love your current self for doing it, because if you set it up now and you stick with it, it's just going to make everything so much easier as your team builds, as your projects grow, all the things. You're not going to have to worry about this becoming some daunting task in the future. The next one is don't get fat with your team. Hire for necessity skills and then use contractors aggressively. The reality is, when you're building a small business and you're in agency world or any of these really service-based businesses, clients come and go. Businesses go through cycles, growth cycles, shrink cycles, all the things. And you really have to understand that during those cycles, you have to be able to be elastic with your workforce. And that's the reality of the situation. If you hire too many full-time people because you get one really exciting contract and then that contract goes away, you're going to leave a lot of people out to dry. Now, that's not to say that it's super easy to reduce your contractor engagements when things go down, but those relationships are at least built on the principle that as the business is growing and as we're doing more things, we want to grow with you and give you more hours. But the reality is, this engagement is dependent on the business's success. Be very transparent with your contractors. Let them know this up front. And then when it's time to make a full-time hire, don't be afraid to do that. But at the same time, don't do it if you really don't need it. I've been very hesitant to bring on more full-time employees because I know that I'm on the hook for that nut no matter what happens with the business. I like having a mix of full-time and part-time employees so that if things go south, well, then we can make adjustments needed in order to match the workload that the business is doing. In my world, things change on a month-to-month basis. We have really good months, we have really bad months, and being able to sort of counteract those things makes me sleep a lot easier at night, knowing that if things go south, we've got some room to adjust our workforce to be able to reflect that and not crush our bottom line. The next one is sharing and talking about your work consistently. This just goes down to really being active on social media in formats that are interesting to your clients. Look, every time I see a new agency start doing content, it's Canva graphics with stats about 70% of people in the United States are social media users. Yeah, we've heard it 1,000 times. I don't really care about the statistics with your Canva graphics on your social media feed. I want to see what you're doing. I want to see what you're working with. I want to see the behind the scenes. I want to hear from the team. I want it to be fun, engaging, interesting, whatever it is. Not every post has to be this perfectly packaged viral reel, but you need to be consistent. It's where people go to validate you. It's where people go to see what's it like working with this company. So staying consistent and staying up to date is where you really need to be thinking about with your social media activity. If you're like, I can't do all the platforms, Jeb, well, pick two. I'd say Instagram and LinkedIn. TikTok's a nice to have, but the reason I say Instagram and LinkedIn is because in all the content that you're doing, you're going to be posting and tagging the people you're doing it with so that they can share it on their stories and on their feeds too. I love doing collab posts with people who we've worked with. The content goes up on both of our feeds. It almost becomes a little automated type of referral thing where people get to see, oh, hey, they worked with this company. I liked that thing. Let me go DM them. It makes it super easy and low friction. And on LinkedIn, I mean, it's really built for this. Tagging people you're working with, talking about projects, talking about results. Just be active and consistent with that conversation, and you'll start seeing interest and leads and people coming in just because you're being active and showing the world what you're doing. The next one, I believe this to my core, is don't make false promises and shoot your clients straight. I see agencies all the time get caught up in this idea of like, yeah, we can do it, but they really can't do it, or they're not being straight with their client about how the project is going to be executed or who the key stakeholders on the agency side of the projects are. I say control the controllables. All of our agreements are built around the KPIs and the action items that we can control and that we are going to hold ourselves accountable to. How many shoots did we do? How many pieces of content did we create? Did we have our syncs with you? Controlling the projects and delivering what we need to. That's what we're holding ourselves accountable, and that's what we're promising to our clients. We don't get caught up in these fancy things of we're gonna bring you 10,000 followers in the first 30 days, because what that starts doing, it starts compromising your delivery, and you start relying on shady methods to deliver these things. Be real with your clients, be honest with them about what you're going to deliver, and they're gonna love you for it. The second you start getting caught up in these situations where you're like, well, you said you were going to do that, but like, what happened over here? If you can't control it, don't promise it, or be real with them about it and just use other work examples to help justify the statements you're making. You got to be careful about what you're promising to people. I believe your word is your bond, and if you break that bond with someone, it's going to be really hard to get that back. The last one, this is something we started doing over the last 2.5 years. It's doing nonprofit work for free or at a drastically reduced rate, especially when it puts you in front of new audiences. I'll be honest with you, whenever I've showed up at a nonprofit event where we were doing video coverage basically just to cover our cost, if not for free, it has been an amazing networking and frankly lead generation tool for our business. Wear your company merch when you go shoot at events, even if you're being paid to do the event, but especially at these nonprofit events, wear a hat, wear a shirt. If multiple team members are coming, make sure everyone's wearing your gear, and it is a automatic conversation starter for who are you guys? Why are you here? What are you doing? And it's such a warm introduction when people know that you're there with an intention to cover this mission-driven event. It has been an amazing place for us just to meet new people in our community, and a lot of those conversations have led to paid engagements. So if you're trying to think about ways to get the ball rolling, to meet new people, whatever it is, reach out to some nonprofits that do events, whether it's 5Ks, whether it's food drives, whatever it is, and be at those events loud and proud, be social, talk about what you're doing, talk about the organization. You don't have to sell yourself in every conversation, but schedule coffees, get people's email addresses, use those opportunities to just build your network, because you never know what that network is going to do down the line when they have a project and they remember the team that was at the nonprofit event that was there to do video coverage for that mission-driven thing. So there's a quick list on just some of the things that I felt like have helped move the needle in our business over the last 4 years. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're dropping content every week. I'll see y'all later. Peace.